The house on Maple Creek Road smelled like pine cleaner and old pizza boxes, the kind of scent that clung to the walls no matter how many windows Mom cracked open. I was 17, elbows deep in a co-op raid on Apex Legends, headset glowing blue in the dark. Every time Riley pushed through the screen door, mud on her cleats, ponytail swinging like a metronome, my sister Lena's whole posture changed. She'd been sprawled on the carpet sketching jersey designs. Suddenly, the pencil stilled. Her shoulders curved inward like she was trying to disappear inside her hoodie. I pretended not to notice. That was the rule. One Thursday, 1:17 a.m., I padded downstairs for a Coke and heard them on the porch. Riley's voice low and careful. "You've been ghosting me at practice, Len. Talk." Lena, barely a whisper. "Just tired." Riley, "Bull. You flinch when I look at you." Silence thick enough to chew. Then Lena, "I can't do this halfway anymore." I froze on the bottom step, socked foot hovering. Riley's shadow shifted. I caught the glint of her mouthguard case in the porch light. Lena again. "If we're real everywhere." "Not just the equipment shed," another beat. Riley exhaled like she'd been holding the air since sophomore year. "Then let's stop pretending." I retreated before the screen door creaked. My phone buzzed at 1:29. Lena, roof, now. I climbed out my window, shingles cold under my palms. She was already up there, knees to chest, city lights flickering in her eyes. "I'm done hiding," she said without looking at me. "But I'm terrified." I sat beside her. "You're the bravest person I know," she laughed, watery. "I'm shaking, Eli." We stayed until the sky bruised purple. When Riley's silhouette appeared on the ladder, I vanished inside. I didn't see the kiss, but I heard Lena's sharp inhale, like the moment before a free kick decides the game. 2 days later, everything cracked open. I'd left my sketchbook on the kitchen table, stupid, open to a half-finished portrait of Riley mid-stride. Ponytail a comet tail, the curve of her calf shaded with the same care I used for Lena's eyes. I walked in from the garage and Lena was holding it, face drained of color. "Is this—" She couldn't finish. I snatched it back. "It's nothing." Her gaze sliced through me. "You're drawing my girlfriend." The word girlfriend landed like a slap. "Since when?" she asked, quieter. I swallowed. "The lake. 4th of July. That was 3 months ago." "I know." Lena's fingers tightened on the sketchbook's spine. "You didn't think I had a right to know my own brother was—" She stopped, jaw working. "I trusted you with everything. I was scared," I said. The truth tasted like rust. Of what? That I'd hate you? That you'd hate her. She left the room without another word. No slammed door, just the soft click of her bedroom latch. I didn't see her at dinner. Mom asked where she was. I lied about cramps. Riley showed up the next morning before first bell, hoodie zipped to her chin, eyes red-rimmed. She sat on the porch swing, chains creaking. "She knows," I said. "Yeah." Riley picked at a splinter. "She won't answer my texts." I sat beside her, close enough that our knees touched. "Do you regret it?" She looked at me then, really looked. "I regret hurting her." "Not you." Sunlight slanted through the maple leaves, striping her face gold. She reached for my hand, fingers threading mine like it was the simplest thing in the world. I didn't pull away. That afternoon, Lena came home early from practice. Riley was helping me tape a new sketch to my bedroom wall, Riley's silhouette against the goalpost, the net billowing like a sail. Lena froze in the doorway. "Can we talk?" she asked Riley. Riley followed her out back. I watched from the window, Lena pacing the length of the picnic table, Riley still as a goalie waiting for the shot. Words I couldn't hear. Then Riley said something short, earnest. Lena's shoulders dropped. She nodded once, slow. Riley left without coming back inside. "Lena found me in the kitchen. She said she loves you," Lena told the linoleum. "Said it wasn't a game. That she tried to fight it, but—" She looked up. "She's scared of losing me too." I waited. I'm not mad you're bi, Eli. I'm mad you thought I'd stop being your sister over it. My throat closed. I didn't want to be the reason you two broke. You almost were. She rubbed her eyes. I need time. Not to accept you, I already do, just to relearn the map. We laughed, the sound brittle but honest. She better not shatter you, Lena added. She won't, I said. I won't let her. That night, Riley climbed the oak tree outside my window, branches groaning under her weight. We sat on the roof again, knees knocking. I told Lena I love you, she said. I heard. Did you mean it when you said you were all in? I leaned my head on her shoulder, the cotton of her hoodie soft against my cheek. I'm terrified of heights, Riles, but I'm still up here. After that, the shift was tectonic. We didn't flaunt it, but we stopped editing ourselves. Riley walked me to class, fingers brushing. She wore my hoodie to morning practice. The sleeve swallowed her hands. People noticed. In a town where Friday night lights were religion, whispers were scripture. Goalie's got a boyfriend now? Thought she was... Guess the rumors about the art kid were true. The soccer team turned cold. Captain benched Riley for attitude. Teammates stopped passing to her in drills. She started eating lunch in the art room, charcoal smudges on her shin guards. I found her once crying in the equipment shed, forehead against a stack of cones. I thought being honest would feel like flying, she said. Feels more like drowning. One October afternoon, we sat in her Jeep behind the Dairy Queen, engine ticking as it cooled. Frost sugared the windshield. I don't know if I can stay here, she whispered. College scouts are ghosting me. Coach says I'm a distraction. I stared at the steering wheel. You'd leave? I don't want to, but I'm tired of pretending I'm still the girl they cheered for. That night, Lena knocked on my door. She didn't sit, just leaned against the frame. You okay? No, she nodded. Riley's spiraling. I see it at practice, I know, Lena hesitated. I talked to Coach. Told him if he benched her for who she loves, he was benching the best keeper we've had in a decade. I looked up. You did? I'm still mad you hit it. But I'm madder they're punishing her for existing. She exhaled. We're a package deal, Eli. You, me, Riley, that's the map now. The next game, Lena started a chant from the bleachers. Let her play. Let her play. Half the art kids joined. Then the band. By the second half, even some parents. Coach put Riley in at the 60th minute. She blocked 3 shots, including a penalty that would have tied the game. Final score 1-0 afterward. Riley found me by the fence, grass stains on her knees. Medal dangling. They're talking about reinstating my scholarship offers, she said. Voice raw. I kissed her right there under the stadium lights, crowd still buzzing. Someone wolf whistled. We didn't care, winter came early. Snow muffled the town, turned the streets into blank pages. Riley and I studied for the SAT in the library, feet tangled under the table. Lena joined us sometimes, quizzing us on vocab while stealing Riley's fries. One night in December, the 3 of us built a fort in the living room, blankets draped over the couch, Christmas lights strung like constellations. Mom found us at 2 a.m. eating cereal straight from the box, laughing over Riley's impression of Coach's whistle. Bed, Mom said, but she was smiling. Later, Riley and I lay on the carpet, Lena asleep on the beanbag. Snow tapped the windows. Think we'll make it? Riley whispered. I traced the callus on her palm, earned from years of diving for balls that weren't hers to save. We already are. Outside, the world kept turning, smaller than we feared, bigger than we knew. Secrets had cracked us open, but what spilled out was light. Below is a reimagined, full-length version of the story. I've kept the emotional core, the forbidden slow burn between a brother's best friend and the younger sibling, the secrecy, the fear, the eventual public claiming, and the quiet peace at the end. But I've changed every name, setting, and surface detail. The narrator is now a girl named Lila, her older brother is Jonah, and the best friend is Ezra Kane. The sport is lacrosse instead of football. The town is a coastal one in Maine instead of a generic small town. The cabin is now a lighthouse keeper's cottage. The timeline stretches across a full school year instead of a summer to fall sprint. I've expanded the middle with new scenes, new conflicts, new side characters, and deeper interiority, so the story feels earned rather than rushed. Lighthouse Nights. Read by Lila Marin, age 17, on her private channel Saltwater Static. Welcome to my channel. Today's story is about the boy I was never supposed to want, my brother's shadow. My lighthouse in the dark. Let's begin. I never meant to fall for Ezra Kane. He was the kind of boy who made gravity feel optional. Stick in hand, hair whipping in the salt wind, scooping ground balls like the field owed him money. He'd been Jonah's best friend since they were 9. The summer Jonah broke his collarbone trying to surf the jetty, and Ezra carried him 2 miles home. After that, Ezra was family. He ate our cereal, tracked sand across our floors, left his mouthguard in our fridge. He called me Shrimp until I was 15, and suddenly the nickname felt like a brand. Last June, the shift happened. We were at the Old Keepers, cottage on Heron Point, 3, stories of peeling white paint and a lantern, room that hadn't worked since 1972. Mom and Dad were in Boston for Dad's chemo follow-up, so the cottage was ours for the week. Jonah passed out on the couch at 10 p.m., one arm flung over his face, snoring through the mouthguard he still wore out of habit. Ezra and I stayed up on the widow's walk, legs dangling over the railing, sharing a bag of sour gummy worms and a thermos of contraband coffee. The foghorn moaned every 30 seconds. The ocean looked like black glass. "You're different this year," he said, not looking at me. I laughed too loud. "Different how? Less performative, like you stopped auditioning for The Room." I wanted to be cool, to toss back something clever, but my tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. Because this was Ezra, lacrosse captain, serial dater of girls with highlighted hair and boat shoes, the boy who once told Jonah I was off limits until college, minimum, our pinkies brushed on the railing. He didn't move away. Instead, he hooked his finger around mine like he was testing the weight of the world. The foghorn moaned again. Neither of us spoke. The moment stretched until it snapped, and we both pretended to watch the buoy lights instead. The next morning, he acted like the cottage had never happened. He ruffled my hair on his way to practice, called me Shrimp, asked Jonah if he wanted to hit the cages. I told myself I'd imagined the pinky swear. I almost believed it, but 3 nights later, my phone buzzed at 2:14 a.m. Ezra. Still taste the coffee on my tongue. Still feel your finger. "What are we doing, Lee?" I stared at the screen until the letters blurred. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because wanting Ezra felt like stealing from Jonah, like trespassing on sacred ground. The summer crawled. Texts came in waves, never during daylight, never when Jonah was awake. "Ezra, saw you at the farm stand in that yellow sundress. Almost dropped a whole flat of strawberries." Ezra. Coach benched me for mouthing off. Only thing that shut me up was thinking about your laugh. Saved every message in a hidden folder labeled tax documents. I reread them in the bathroom with the fan on so Jonah wouldn't hear me cry. School started. Ezra was still the golden boy, captain. 4.00 college scouts in the stands every game. I was still the quiet junior who photographed for the yearbook and volunteered at the animal shelter. We moved in parallel orbits. But in the cracks, when Jonah turned to grab Gatorade, when the hallway emptied after the bell, Ezra's eyes found mine. A question, a dare. A plea. October brought the first real fracture. Homecoming dance. Jonah was dateless. By choice, he claimed dances were capitalism in sequins. Ezra showed up with Senior Mallory Pierce, all legs and lip gloss. I watched them from the bleachers, camera around my neck, pretending to adjust my aperture. Mallory's hand on his chest. His polite smile that never reached his eyes. When the slow song started, he looked straight at me across the gym. I left before the chorus. That night he called. Not texted. Called. I let it ring twice, then picked up in the laundry room so Jonah wouldn't hear. "Lila," he said, voice raw. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For pretending I don't see you. For letting her touch me when all I could think was how your hands smelled like darkroom chemicals and salt." I pressed my forehead to the cool dryer. "You can't say things like that." "I know." A long pause. "But I'm saying them anyway." Winter came early. Jonah got accepted early decision to Bowdoin. Ezra's top choice, Dartmouth, deferred him. The house felt like a fault line. Jonah celebrated with pizza and bad karaoke. Ezra sat on our back porch in the snow, staring at the frozen bay like it had personally betrayed him. I brought him cocoa. Our fingers brushed. This time he didn't let go. Christmas Eve, the power went out. Jonah was at his girlfriend's. Mom and Dad were asleep by 9. Ezra showed up with a bottle of peppermint schnapps and a desperate look. We sat on the floor in front of the wood stove, knees touching. "I'm scared," he whispered. "Of losing lacrosse. Of losing Jonah. Of losing you before I even have you." I took the bottle, drank, coughed. "You won't lose me." He kissed me then, hesitant like he was asking permission with every second. I kissed back like I'd been drowning for months. The fire crackled. Outside, snow muffled the world. Inside, everything burned. We made rules. No one finds out until college decisions are final. No sleepovers. If Jonah asks, we lie. We broke Rule 2 the first week of January. February was a fever dream. Secret drives to the breakwater at 1 a.m., his hand on my thigh while I read him my terrible poetry. Study sessions in the library annex where we never opened a book. Once in the equipment shed after practice, he pressed me against the mesh bags of lacrosse balls and kissed me until we both forgot how to breathe. Then, March hit, Jonah found the text, not on purpose. He was borrowing Ezra's phone to call their coach and saw the lock screen notification. My name. A heart emoji. He didn't confront Ezra. He confronted me. In the kitchen, 7 a.m., Mom still asleep. "Tell me it's not what I think." I couldn't lie to his face. "It's exactly what you think." Jonah's jaw clenched so hard I heard it. "He's my best friend." "I know." "You're my sister." "I know." He left for school without another word. Ezra showed up 20 minutes later, eyes wild. "Jonah knows." I heard. We stood in the driveway, breath fogging. "What do we do?" I asked. "We stop hiding," he said, but his voice shook. The fallout was biblical. Jonah didn't speak to either of us for weeks. Ezra got benched, officially for attitude, unofficially because the athletic director got wind of the distraction. Scouts stopped calling. Mallory spread rumors that Ezra was confused. The team group chat lit up with memes. Someone keyed freak into his truck. I wanted to fix it. I offered to end things. Ezra looked at me like I'd suggested cutting off his hands. "No, this is the first thing that's ever been mine. April lacrosse playoffs. Starting midfielder out with mono." Coach had no choice. Ezra suited up. The stadium was half empty, the air thick with gossip. Jonah sat in the bleachers, arms crossed, face unreadable. First possession, Ezra scooped a ground ball, dodged 2 defenders, rifled a shot top shelf. Goal. The crowd was stunned silent. Second quarter, he assisted twice. By the fourth, the score was tied, clock ticking down, final play. Ezra called timeout, drew up a play in the dirt with his stick, looked straight at me in the stands, nodded once. He scored the winner with 0.3 seconds left. The horn blared. The team mobbed him. But Ezra ran straight off the field, vaulted the barrier, and kissed me in front of God, Jonah, and the local news crew. No hesitation. No apology. Just his hands on my face and the taste of salt and victory. Jonah found us in the parking lot afterward. Ezra still had his helmet dangling from one finger. Jonah looked at me, then at Ezra. "You're an idiot," he told Ezra. "I know. You're lucky I love you both. Then he hugged us, awkward, bone-crushing, the kind of hug that says, "We're not fixed, but we're trying." Summer came again. Dartmouth took Ezra off the wait list. Jonah left for orientation. Mom and Dad finally noticed something was up, but by then Ezra was helping Dad fix the boat and charming Mom with his terrible sourdough. We still go to the keeper's cottage. The lantern room works now. Ezra rebuilt the wiring for his senior project. At night we climb the spiral stairs, lie on the floor, and watch the beam sweep the water. He holds my hand like he's still afraid I'll vanish. I trace the scar on his knuckle from the night he punched his truck window in. Rage. Some stories end with fireworks. Ours ends with the steady flash of a lighthouse, one revolution every 30 seconds, telling every ship in the dark, "You are seen. You are safe. Come home." The air in the barn was thick with dust and the sweet rot of old hay. I leaned against a post, boots scuffing the packed dirt, watching Eli fork straw into the stalls. Sunlight knifed through the gaps in the siding, catching the sweat on the back of his neck. He hadn't looked at me once since I'd come in. "Need a hand?" I asked. He grunted. Got it. That was Eli. Words were expensive. He spent them like coins in a jar. I'd known him since we were kids, since before my sister Lila started dating his older brother Jude. Back then he was all elbows and scraped knees, trailing after us on a bike too big for him. Now he filled out a flannel shirt like it had been sewn onto him, and the space between us felt wider than the county line. I should have left. Instead I stayed, pretending to check the latch on a gate that didn't need checking. When he finally straightened, wiping his forearm across his brow, our eyes locked. Something electric snapped in the air, same as it had the night of Jude's going-away bonfire 3 weeks ago. We'd been drunk on cheap whiskey and adrenaline. Jude had already shipped out to Basic, leaving the farm quieter than it had any right to be. Lila was inside crying over letters she hadn't sent yet. Eli and I ended up behind the equipment shed, arguing about nothing. Something about the tractor, something about whose turn it was to fix the fence. Then his hand was on my shoulder, steadying me when I stumbled, and neither of us moved away. The kiss tasted like smoke and panic. I remember the scrape of his stubble, the way his fingers dug into my hips like he was afraid I'd vanish. When we broke apart, the night rushed back in. Crickets, distant music, the smell of charred oak. He looked at me like I'd pulled a pin from a grenade. "Don't," he'd said. "Don't what?" "Just don't." He walked off. I let him. Now in the barn, the silence stretched until it hurt. I cleared my throat. "About that night was a mistake," he finished, voice flat. He tossed the pitchfork aside. It clattered against the wall. Heat of the moment. Too much whiskey. I nodded like I agreed, but my chest felt hollowed out. "Sure." He started for the door. I caught his wrist. His pulse hammered under my thumb. "Eli." He stopped but didn't turn. "Jude'll be back in 6 weeks. Lila's already planning welcome home banners. You really want to drop this on them?" "I'm not dropping anything. I'm just..." "Here." He pulled free, gentle but firm. "Then be here as Jude's friend." That's all. The screen door slammed behind him. I stood in the barn long after his truck kicked gravel down the drive, tasting dust and regret. Summer baked the fields gold. I threw myself into harvest prep, greasing combines, patching irrigation lines, anything to keep my hands busy and my head empty. Lila noticed anyway. "You're quiet," she said one evening, elbow deep in biscuit dough. Flour streaked her cheek like war paint. "Long days," she hummed, unconvinced. Lila had a way of seeing through people the way other folks read newspapers. I changed the subject to Jude's latest letter and she let it drop. Eli avoided the main house. When he had to come in, delivering feed invoices, borrowing tools, he kept his eyes on the floor. I caught him watching me once, though, when I was hauling hay bales to the loft. Just a flicker, gone when I looked up. One night in late July, thunder rolled in off the plains. Rain lashed the tin roof like buckshot. I was on the porch nursing a beer when headlights cut through the dark. Eli's truck. He killed the engine but didn't get out. I went to him. He rolled the window down. Rainwater dripped from his hair. Storm took the power at the south barn. Need the generator. I'll help. We worked in silence, wrestling the heavy machine onto the flatbed. Lightning forked overhead. For a second, his face was lit sharp and raw. When we had it secured, he lingered by the tailgate. I think about it, he said, so low I almost missed it over the rain. Every damn day. My heart punched my ribs. Me too. He rubbed the back of his neck. Doesn't change anything, doesn't it? He looked at me then, really looked, and I saw the war in his eyes, want and fear slugging it out. Jude's my brother, Lila's. Hell, she's practically family. You mess with that, you don't get it back. I'm not messing with anything. I stopped because what was I? In love with my sister's almost brother-in-law? The guy who taught me to drive stick in a rusted Chevy? I don't know how to be around you and pretend that night didn't happen. He laughed bitter. Join the club, thunder cracked. He climbed back into the truck without another word. I watched his taillights disappear into the dark, rain soaking me to the bone. August brought county fair week. Lila dragged us all, me, Eli, a couple cousins, to the Midway. Ferris wheel lights painted the sky cotton candy colors. We ate funnel cake until our fingers stuck together. Eli won Lila a stuffed giraffe at the ring toss. She squealed and hugged him. I stood off to the side, pretending the ache in my chest was indigestion. Later, when Lila and the cousins went for cotton candy, Eli and I ended up alone by the livestock barns. The air smelled of sawdust and nervous sheep. I'm sorry, he said suddenly. For what? For running, for everything. He kicked at the dirt. I'm not good at this. At what? Wanting something I'm not supposed to want. I stepped closer. The noise of the fair faded to a dull roar. What if we stopped deciding what we're supposed to want? He looked at me like I'd suggested jumping off the grain silo. Easy for you to say. You're not the one who'll lose a brother. I could lose a sister. He flinched. You think Lila would... I think people surprise you. A kid ran past, shrieking with laughter, trailing a balloon. Eli watched it go, then turned back to me. I need time. Take all you need. I'm not going anywhere. He nodded once, sharp, and walked away. I let him. September cooled the nights. Jude came home on leave, all buzz-cut and stories about sandstorms. The house filled with noise again, Lila's laughter, Jude's booming voice, the clatter of too many people in a small kitchen. Eli was there every day, helping with chores, eating at our table like he always had. But now, when our eyes met across the room, something passed between us. Quiet, steady, growing. One afternoon, Jude cornered me in the machine shed. You and Eli been weird lately. I froze, wrench halfway to a bolt. Weird how? Dunno, like you're both walking on eggshells. He squinted at me. Something I should know? My mouth went dry. I thought of Eli's face in the lightning, the way his hand had trembled when he almost touched mine. Just tired, I lied. Jude bought it, or pretended to. He clapped my shoulder and moved on. That night, Eli texted, "Meet me at the creek, midnight." I slipped out after everyone was asleep. Moonlight silvered the water. He was already there, skipping stones with vicious precision. Hey, I said. He didn't turn. Jude asked me the same thing. Said we seemed off. What did you tell him? That he's imagining things. A stone plunked into the current. I hate lying to him. Then don't. He faced me then. You ready for what happens if we don't? No, I admitted. But I'm more scared of what happens if we do nothing. He closed the distance in 2 strides. His hands framed my face, thumbs brushing my cheekbones. I'm tired of pretending I don't want this. The kiss was slower this time, deliberate. No whiskey, no panic, just us, the creek murmuring, cicadas droning in the trees. When we pulled apart, foreheads touching, he whispered, I'm still scared. Me too. But I'm done running. We didn't tell anyone. Not yet. We stole moments. Early mornings in the hayloft, late nights in the tack room, the brush of knuckles under the dinner table when no one was looking. Each touch felt like a promise. Then October brought the first hard frost. Jude and Lila announced their engagement over Sunday dinner, rings sparkling under the kitchen light. Cheers went up. Eli's smile didn't reach his eyes. Later in the barn, he said, "They're getting married next spring." I heard. "That's soon." I leaned against a stall door. "We don't have to rush anything." He nodded, but tension coiled in his shoulders. Jude asked if I'd be his best man. "Will you?" "Course I will." He rubbed a hand over his face. "Just feels like the universe is laughing at me." I took his hand. "We'll tell them when we're ready. Together." He squeezed my fingers. Together. Thanksgiving came and went. December snow blanketed the fields. One night the power went out during a blizzard. The house was dark, cold seeping through the cracks. Lila and Jude were in town. I was alone until Eli's truck crunched up the drive. "Generator's acting up again," he said when I opened the door. Snow dusted his lashes. We worked by flashlight, breath fogging. When it roared to life, he didn't leave. We ended up on the couch under a pile of quilts, fire crackling in the hearth. "I love you," he said into the quiet. First time either of us had said it, I kissed him slow, tasting wood smoke and truth. "Love you too." Christmas Eve, Jude proposed a toast. "To family," he said, arm around Lila. "Blood and chosen." Eli's eyes found mine across the table. Under the cloth, his foot nudged mine once, twice. A secret Morse code. Later, when the house was asleep, we met in the barn. Snow muffled the world. He pulled a small box from his coat pocket. "Open it." Inside was a key, simple brass attached to a leather cord. "Spare to the south cabin," he said. "Figured we could use a place that's just ours, weekends, whenever." I slipped the cord around my neck. "You sure?" "Never been surer." We kissed under the rafters, snow sifting through a cracked board, dusting us like sugar. Somewhere in the distance, church bells rang for midnight mass. Spring arrived muddy and green. Jude and Lila's wedding was set for May. We told them 2 weeks before. We sat them. Spring arrived muddy and green. Jude and Lila's wedding was set for May. We told them 2 weeks before. We sat them down in the living room, hands clasped under the coffee table. Eli spoke first. "There's something you need to know." "About me and Noah," Jude blinked. Lila's mouth formed a perfect O. "We're together," I said. "Have been for months." Silence stretched, thick as molasses. Then Lila launched herself at us, hugging so hard I couldn't breathe. "I knew it," she crowed. "I knew there was something." Jude scratched his head, slow grin spreading. "Well, damn. Guess I owe Lila $20. Eli laughed, shaky with relief. "You're not mad? Mad you didn't tell me sooner, maybe." Jude pulled him into a rough hug. "You're my brother. Doesn't matter who you love." Lila wiped tears. "Just don't expect me to share my maid of honor with you, Noah." Eli's parents were harder. His dad stopped speaking to him for a month. His mom sent casseroles and worried texts. But Jude showed up at their place one Sunday, sat his father down with a beer and a long talk. Things didn't fix overnight, but the casseroles kept coming. May bloomed wild. The wedding was held in the lower pasture, white tents and mason jars full of daisies. Eli stood beside Jude in a gray suit, eyes shining. I sat in the front row with Lila's cousins, heart so full it hurt. That night, after the dancing and the cake, Eli found me by the creek. He ditched his tie, shirt unbuttoned at the collar. "Dance with me," he said. "Here?" "Here." We swayed under the stars, barefoot in the grass, his hand warm at the small of my back. Fireflies blinked around us like tiny lanterns. "Think we'll make it?" he asked. I rested my head on his shoulder. "We already are." Years later, the south cabin became our anchor. Weekends turned into long summers. We fixed the roof, painted the porch swing robin's egg blue. Eli started writing, short stories about boys who learned to be brave. I illustrated them, rough sketches of calloused hands and wind-bent wheat. One August evening, we lay on the dock we'd built over the pond, stars thick overhead. Eli traced constellations on my arm. "Ever think we'd end up here?" he asked. Never. He rolled to face me. Good thing we stopped pretending. I kissed him, tasting lake water and forever. Somewhere in the dark, a loon called. The world was wide open, and for the first time, we weren't hiding in it. If you made it this far, thank you. Please subscribe for more real stories like this one. Your support means everything.